FM.
First of all, thank you for coming, Ben. You are a Loughborough student as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. You play athletics, so you do the 4x400 relay. You're in the top 8 World Indoor Championships, the European Indoor and National Champion.
Yeah. 2022 National Champion, and then I got silver this year. But yeah, I'm a 400 metre runner. Well, used to be 400 hurdler, turned 400 metre runner, and 4x4 relay runner.
Yeah. And so, what are you studying at uni?
So I study sport and exercise therapy, learn all about the body, which is great. Helps me with my sport too. But I also take an interest in it away from the track. So that's like my side hustle, I suppose.
Of course. And yeah, we'll talk a bit more about your career as we go on. So just to start off, you do, as I mentioned, you do the 4x400 relay. You do the 200 meters. You do the 400 meters H. You do is that it, or is there any other events that you do within athletics?
Well, I specialise in the 400 metres, but other events coincide with it. So at the championships, at the main events, I'll always do the 400 or the 400 hurdles when that was my speciality. But now it's 4 flat. But always throughout the season, I'll do 200s, 100s, because like they all like coincide. So the 200 will help my speed, 100s will make me more sharp for the speed and stuff. But when it comes to the main bulk of the season, I will do mainly 400s. Because that is my main event. But yeah, I do float with other events but it's everything is to help the 400 rather than because I specialise in anything else.
Yeah. So it surprises me that you're born in 2000 and make me feel a bit old. Being born so later. So and then we'll move on to your a little bit later on. But first of all, I want to say that last year you came 6th. And is it a team event that you did? You came 6th in?
Yeah, we went to the World Indoors. That was my first. That was my first GB kit. So I never made. Well, I never made an international GB team before, and then I kind of broke through as a young senior. So my first ever GB kit was at the World Indoors, which is a cool experience. And we came 6th in the final, we had a few hiccups there. We had a couple of injuries, so our team wasn't as good as it could be. But to come 6th on the world stage at my debut was pretty cool.
Yeah, it shows that you're really going up the ranks of the athletics world. So yeah, all those experiences must help for the future and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So going back a bit now. Did you do any other sports growing up?
I did loads of sports growing up. I'm an only child, thankfully. So, well, I say thankfully.
You're lucky.
My mum had all the time. Well, I say all the time in the world with work. She had one child to shuttle around. So I played hockey. I did football. I did rugby. I did athletics. I did futsal. I did everything really until about the age of probably maybe 12, 13 when I stopped hockey and I just played football and did athletics. And then I did both of them until about the age of 16. But it was just becoming too intense because I do athletics on Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. I do football on Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. So the only day off for me and my mum would be a Friday. And when I got to 16, I kind of had to make the choice to take one of them a bit more seriously. And I stuck with athletics, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, and so yeah, the next question is quite lengthy. So I put here, why athletics? Out of all the sports you've done, why athletics in the end?
I think I first went to an athletics club when I was year 3, so I think I was maybe 7 or 8. Because mum came to watch me at like the local county competition, and I was year 3 racing against the year 4s, and I was always doing well. My mum thought, oh wow, he's quite fast, so took me down to the local athletics club, and I just have stuck at it ever since. But I think the main reason I do athletics over other sports is because I like the individuality of it. I like individual sports. So when I was playing football, one of the things I used to hate the most was playing well but losing, or not playing well and winning. Like I enjoyed the team element, but there was also some parts of the team element which I didn't enjoy. So I think I just liked it I like that being on the start line and everything that happens in that race is on me. Like I'm always accountable for what I do, and I think that's why I chose athletics over football.
And so you started in 2010,
Yeah.
like properly. And I put on here how, because obviously you're about 9, 10 at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you started doing local or national when you were 10.
Yeah. I started locally, obviously. But then I suppose just the people I met is how, because I started just at my local track, which was just like a grass track. And then eventually I moved to a place called Corby, which is an actual athletics track. And then there I met proper coaches and people who knew like the athletics world. And how, I guess, is my mum. Basically, my mum used to speak to people and be like, "Oh, what do we do next?" And then she would enter me into these competitions. And yeah, I suppose it was just from moving around, like kind of progressing. I suppose meeting different people showed me what was the right thing to do. And yeah, that was how I got racing.
Yeah, and so we mentioned a bit. So you do individual and you do group with relays. At the start, you presumably just did individual.
Yeah, so
stuff.
relays have always been a thing when you go to team events. So like with county schools or English schools or any like team event, there's always relays. And for me, I'm lucky that I'm in an event where there is a relay, because it means that there's more people go for the event. Because say if you were a 1500 meter runner or an 800 meter runner, there isn't a relay for those events. So say only 2 or 3 people might go to a team for that event. In the relay, there's often 6 or 8 even that go. So I'm lucky in that aspect. But obviously the aim, it is an individual sport, so the aim is to make teams individually. But yeah, right from when I started athletics, I've always done relays, because I've always focused on my individual event, but then relays are like the fun thing to do at the end. It brings that team element into athletics.
Oh yeah, it must be quite because you say you're accountable when you're individual, but yeah, in a team you can always just blame someone else.
Yeah, it's a different like there's a different kind of nerves in a relay, because when I'm on the start line individually, I know that it's just me, and if I mess up, it's just on me. Whereas if you mess up in a relay, there's 3 other people who are going to be annoyed at you, so it's a different kind of pressure.
Yeah. So yeah, so throughout because 9, 9 and 10 going up, you obviously still at school and secondary school and that type of thing. So how did you manage your schoolwork with your sport? Because obviously you said in your early years you did football, you did athletics pretty much every week. So how did you fit it all in?
Didn't have a choice. I had to be on top of it, basically. That's something I've carried with me into uni as well. For the first 3 years, I had to at school. I just had to. If I got given a piece of homework the night I got it, I just have to do it as soon as I got home. Otherwise, it would all build up, and then I'd end up doing it at school. And I was quite good at that. And my mum implemented that. Really, she made sure I was, because otherwise I just wouldn't have been able to train, because it would have been weighing me down. It would have been stressful. So I think the biggest thing was just keeping on top of it. If I had like free time at school, if I had like after school time, I'd do my work then. But yeah, it's all about balance. If you don't balance it, something will give, or both of them will give. So yeah, I think thankfully being an only child again, my mum was able to help me like keep on top of that kind of stuff, because that was a priority. So yeah, I think just staying on top of it was the biggest thing for me.
And so can you talk to me a bit about your early career? I don't get much from it. But it was just every single year from 2010 onwards, you entered or your mum entered you into a lot of events, and yeah. So one thing I did notice was you progressed over time, and then you got better and better each time, and you got your personal bests and everything. So yeah, tell me a bit about your career growing up from 2010 onwards.
I think the progression is what keeps you in the sport. Like if I wasn't getting better, I would have been like, why am I working so hard? Because athletics is quite an unforgiving sport in a way that you only really compete in the summer. So I train all year round. I'll have like 4 weeks off maybe in September time. Then from October all the way through to the summer, I'm training. But I don't really start racing until kind of May. So if you train for 6 months and then you get injured and you suddenly not got a summer season, it makes you question why you do the work. But yeah, the progression is what keeps you in it, I suppose. Thankfully, as I was younger, I was getting better and better. But I was always quite. I think something that worked for me was I was quite underdeveloped. I was always quite young, looked quite young for my age. So there was always people who were a lot bigger than me and therefore faster than me. So I was never the best really, and I think that's what kept me in the sport, was always wanting to be the best and keep working to get to being the best. And yeah, in a weird way, I think having a disadvantage at a young age is actually what's kept me at my age now. But yeah, I think just nothing beats the feeling of running fast. And ever since I started the sport when I was young, that has just been my favourite thing.
And yeah. Oh yes, one thing that I did forget to ask you earlier on was the indoors. So you never did outdoor athletics, or was
I'd always do outdoor athletics. I just found my most recent success has been indoors. So with athletics, it kind of works where you have an indoor season. It's kind of like it's similar to like pre-season in football and then the normal season. But indoor athletics it's not the pinnacle of athletics, but it's still quite big. It's like, I don't know if you know swimming, they have short course and long course. It's kind of similar for us. The indoor season is like, maybe some people compete in December, but normally January, February, kind of early March, and then outdoor season starts around now. And indoors last year was when I kind of had my breakthrough. That was when I went to the World Indoors, and then a couple of months ago I went to the European Indoors, and then but obviously athletics is conventionally, people know it as an outdoor summer sport, so that's where hopefully the main successes will come from in the future.
Yeah, and so how did you get spotted? Because obviously your mum couldn't have spotted you for that. So yeah, how did you get spotted from GB or England or?
Thing is, with athletics, it's very matter of fact. Like, you are with football, it's an opinion as to whether you're better than someone. Like, the manager might think that one manager might think that you're better than someone else, and another manager might think the other person's better. Whereas in athletics, it is you're either faster than someone or you're not, or you either beat someone on the day or you don't. There's no opinion about it. You're either or you're not. So in terms of getting spotted, it was not really like at a young age. Joining a club was kind of a choice, and you can always choose your coach in athletics. So I didn't get spotted as such, but with selection for GB teams more recently, it is just a qualifying standard. If you run the qualifying time, you get picked. Or if you, for me, for example, because I come first last year and second this year at the indoor British Champs, that got me a selection on the relay team because I was one of the top 4 fastest. So that's usually how you picked for the teams.
And so recent success obviously says you're British champion last year.
Yeah.
Oh, that must have been quite a big achievement for you.
It was, yeah. I think at the time it didn't feel quite real because I'd spent so many years like watching all of the British Champs, and then suddenly that was my first indoor British Championships, the one I won. So to go there and win was crazy. But it was something that I dreamed of doing. But once I'd done that, I didn't feel like that was it. I felt like that was a platform to then step on and keep going.
So so the carrying on from your success last year, and then you got silver this year. Presumably in the future, it's now just targeting medal places now.
Yeah, definitely indoors and outdoors, because I've not got a British Champs outdoors medal yet. That's definitely the aim for this year or in the future at some point, to go and win or to get a medal at the British Champs at least, and start running individual qualifying times. Because relays are great, I love relays, but at the end, like I said, my aim is to make teams individually, not just on relays. So yeah, that's going forward. That's the aim. Run faster, basically. Simple as that.
With the relays, do you get just put into a group with other people, or is it just a group of 4 of you and that'll be the same team? Or is it...
When we went to Istanbul for Europeans in March, we took 5. And then the year before we went to Belgrade and we took 6, but 3 got injured, so we were quite unfortunate then. But usually they take, so we went to the European Outdoors, which I went to last August. That we took 8, I think, because they like to have a strike 4, but obviously you have to run heats and finals, and if you've got people who are running the individual, they might be quite close to the relay heats. So therefore, a lot of people are rested for the heats and then brought in for the final. So you need to have that you might go and not run, but selection is done by what happens at the trials or what you've ran in that year. So if you come top 8 at the trials and they're taking 8, chances are you'll probably get selected, or top 6 at the trials, then they will probably take the top 6. But they also consider things like how fast you've run on a relay split. They consider people's ages. They consider different things for relays, because relay running is different. Although you are still running 400 meters, it's pretty similar. There is an art to relay running. It is different to, especially because when you're on different legs, you're not starting from blocks. It's a rolling leg. So it's more tactical. There's different things to consider for a relay, but I'm not sure what the exact selection criteria is for them, but yeah, they're the main things they consider.
Yeah. So your future now, are you halfway through uni, or just
final year now? I finish hopefully in the next few weeks.
Oh, brilliant! Well, obviously when this comes out, it'll be about a month before. So yeah, and then what's next for you? Is it masters or?
So initially I looked at doing a masters, but I'm kind of swaying away from the idea. I would like to go into, so my interest away from athletics is I'm sounds a bit weird, but I like feet. I'm kind of like podiatry and podiatric. And long term I want to go into like podiatric surgery, so like minor surgery in the feet. That's what I'd like to do academically, but it's quite a commitment, because I was looking at doing like a degree apprenticeship in it. That kind of wouldn't work in athletics. If you make a team, it's kind of quite late notice. You might get like 2 or 3 weeks, and then booking that for work might be quite challenging. So I think for the next year, over the past 2 years I've been running my own like sports therapy business, and I think I'm going to try and take that full time with my athletics going into next year, because it's Paris, it's off the Olympic year. Because I've always said I don't think, even if I don't go, I'll never regret trying. So I think I'm just going to give athletics everything while I can, while I've got this young body. And then once I get to, I don't know, 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, if I then want to go and restudy, I know I can always do that. Whereas if I want to go to the Olympics when I'm 40, that's probably not going to be that easy.
No, but no, that's a good point actually. Keep going as far as you can so far, and then once it's time, you've got that degree to fall back on your business. So your business, I mean, if anyone's interested in looking it out, I'll just try to plug you in here. How can they access?
That's how I met Calvin, actually, who you've interviewed previously. He came in because I see a lot of swimmers. He came in so he sees me as a therapist, which is funny. Some people see me as a therapist, some people see me as an athlete. But my business is called Solution Therapy, and I kind of came up with that because I don't just offer. A lot of people see sports therapy as just kind of massage, but I think it's I see a lot of the general public too, a lot of students, and I think my aim is to offer people a solution to their pain. That's why I came up with the name.
A good name as well. So, and then you mentioned Paris next year. That was going to be a question. Presumably Paris will be your next goal.
Yeah, well, we've got so my summer season is kind of just kicking off. I've raced at the Bucks, the British University Championships last weekend. Sorry, what day are we on today? Tuesday. It was the weekend before. But that was good. I won there. I retained my title from the year before. That was my first aim ticked off. We got the 4x4 gold as well. But aims this year are, we have the World Outdoors in, I forgot where it is, Budapest. That's the aim for this year, which is in August. And then the next year is Paris. So I still see that as kind of a long-term aim. But everything we're doing now, obviously, is trying to make me faster tomorrow, make me faster the next day. But we're building towards Paris and then LA, I guess, in the next Olympics.
Well, fingers crossed for that. And so, presumably, you could enter individually and team at the same event, for Paris. So you can enter. Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody. Sorry, there's always people who. So the people who are selected for the 400 in the Olympics or the World Champs in athletics will tend to be in the 4x400 meter squad as well. So they'll have to have 2 or 3 of the fastest guys who will be in the individual, and then you'll bring the guys for the relay who are the ones who are just below, basically.
Yeah, and then you mentioned after your career in athletics, you would carry on with the business or doing your surgery or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, that's quite an interesting break away from sport. But there you go.
I think it's important to distinguish that. Like, it's nice. I like how when I'm working in my business here, people don't see me as an athlete; they see me as a therapist or just a person. Nice to have that like distinguish, and it's also for me. I think it's important to have the drive away from the sport, because otherwise I find a lot of people who become full-time athletes and just are literally just training to be an athlete. It gets tough, because if you get injured or something goes wrong, if you don't have that thing to fall back on, it suddenly affects you in ways that you didn't think the sport would affect you. So as much as I'd love to be a full-time athlete, I think I'll always have something on the side to
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, the thing is with being a full-time athlete is that you always train, and then you probably don't get sponsors or whatever, and it's very, very difficult to sort of keep it going. Your motivation and everything. So yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and then that's everything. I mean, is there anything else that you might want to add here that I've not said?
Say again. What did you say? Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, have you got anything else to add? Something that I might have missed, or
I don't think so. No, I think you covered everything.
Yeah, well, I think I have, but there's always something that people might want to say afterwards. So I thought I'd give you that chance. Yeah. So yeah, it's been lovely talking to you. And yeah, good luck for August. When it comes round.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on as well. I appreciate you. Appreciate you having the chat.
Voice. Let's go. Voice FM.